Welcome to Rock Your Reinvention. I'm Karen Freeland, your guide to ditching corporate and designing a life you love. If you're ready to shift your mindset, boost your confidence, and finally take action on that dream career or business, you're in the right place. It's your time. Let's rock your reinvention. Today we're tackling a subject I haven't addressed on the show before, and that is the topic of patience. There may be a subconscious reason I haven't discussed this before, perhaps because I'm not the most patient person myself. This is a hard one for me and something that takes a lot of practice. But in a recent conversation with my client, I realized this is a topic I can't ignore, especially in our society because we are so accustomed to not waiting for anything. We want that instant gratification. We can order a latte now on our phone so it's ready when we get to the coffee shop and we don't have to stand in line. We can use ChatGPT so we don't have to waste a moment thinking for ourselves. We can now even do the same day ordering from many stores and online distributors, right? And it just comes to our door. As soon as we want something, we can have it. So why on earth would we want to wait for our reinvention to take shape? Well, we wouldn't, of course. And when I was talking to one of my clients and I asked her what did she like most about coaching with me, she shared that she thought I was going to be like a genie in a bottle and I was just going to answer all her questions. I was going to tell her exactly what to do next and give her all the steps. And while she was really glad I didn't because it empowered her to think for herself and it helped her develop some patience, that really was what she was wanting, right? Because she was feeling impatient about figuring out the next steps for her life. And I think most of my clients, if they were honest, that they feel the exact same way. And I know I felt this way when I was going through my reinvention. But as I've come to discover, not all patience is created equal. There are actually different types of patience. According to research from psychologist Sarah Schnittker, there's actually 3 types of patience. There's number 1, interpersonal patience. This refers to our ability to be patient with other people. This is especially important for our relationships in the workplace and when we're interacting with young children. The second type she identified is patience in hardships. This is a type of long-term patience that we need when we deal with a significant setback in life, also known as perseverance. Perseverance is critical in our personal lives, but it's also useful for long-term goal setting at work or in our life. And the third kind of patience is patience for daily hassles, right? This is the ability to stay calm through life's little irritations, which, we have plenty of those, especially when we're busy working women, whether that's keeping your cool in bad traffic or getting through a tedious task at work. Practicing this type of patience can help improve nearly all aspects of your life. Now, for our purposes, we're going to predominantly focus on number 2, which is patience in life hardships, but we'll touch on number 3 a little bit too. So whether you've just been laid off, you feel like you're stuck in a soul-sucking career that's going nowhere, your business that you were dreaming of is struggling, or you've been looked over yet again for a promotion, patience and perseverance are critical to get you through it. Because look, I know suffering is not enjoyable. I mean, who would ever sign up for that, right? And the pain that you're feeling, of course, is real, but you can learn to wait well and to suffer well. And that makes all the difference in your quality of life. Because when you have less pain in the waiting, when you can find joy even in the waiting, then your journey is just going to be so much smoother. So, what can you do to be patient in the waiting while you're discerning your next steps and exploring where you go from here? Well, that's what I want to focus on today. So, I'm going to share with you 5 tips to help you through this process. The first one is accept what you can't change. I know you probably don't like that answer, but we all have a sphere of influence. There are things that we can actively control, like what we wear or what we eat, for example. There are things that we can influence, like at work, you can suggest that people go with your idea and you can give them all the reasons why they should. And then there are things that are completely out of your control, like the weather or other people's emotions. And the sooner you learn to accept the things that you can't change, the smoother the journey will be. Because then you can divert all of that energy into the things that you can control. I'll give you an example from my life. When I was in corporate, I knew layoffs were coming, and secretly I was praying, like, please let me be on that RIF list. Pick me. I wanted to put my hand up, right? Even though I couldn't really do that. But I knew I didn't really have control over whether my name made it on the list or not. So I had to focus on what I could control, like how much money I saved while I was still there, the boundaries that I put up so I had time for hobbies and to write my book. That way I could start building this fuller life outside of my day job. I had control over how much alcohol I consumed, and I started to scale back so I could be more present and really feel all of my emotions without numbing myself. I could control how much I planned for a potential layoff. And then when it finally happened, when I got my layoff, I continued to focus on what I could control. Because I couldn't get myself back into my corporate job, right? I couldn't control that, but I could control how quickly I returned my work-issued devices. I could control going on a family vacation so I could get this clean break from old workaholic Karen to new full-time author about to be a coach Karen. I could control donating most of my work clothes to charity so I didn't have to look at them in my closet. It actually ended up being a really great time of excitement for me. I was like, wow, I'm really doing this. I am really leaving corporate for good. And that was so freeing. So I want you to ask yourself, what do I need to let go of that I can't control? And what can I focus on controlling instead? Make a list so that you can see this and really digest it. The second thing you can do is to identify your triggers. And this one can be hard because we don't always know this offhand. And this is going to require some active tracking and being really mindful of when your patience seems to go out the window. I used to get really impatient with my husband when he would come into my home office during the workday because he would see that I wasn't on a call. And because when I was in corporate, working meant being on back-to-back conference calls all day, he just assumed I wasn't busy. She's sitting in her office. She's not on a call. She must be free. And finally, one day, I just lost it. I had no more patience for this, and I just blew up. I know it's probably hard to imagine, but I did. And we had to have this big heart-to-heart about what work looks like now. And it was great because now he knows to knock and to check in with me before he barges in and just starts to chit-chat. Can you think of some things that send your impatience through the roof? What could you do to curb that? That was more of a daily patience example. That was like the number 3 type of patience, but even the big life examples apply. I remember when I was trying to figure out what I would do if I wasn't in corporate any longer. And my trigger was actually my own ego, right? Because if I didn't have that entire plan mapped out to perfection and know exactly what I was going to do and how I was going to do it, my brain would get impatient and give up in complete frustration. My brain had this imaginary timeline and was putting so much pressure on me. So I had to learn to be okay with some ambiguity and take baby steps so that I could figure it out as I went along. We all have triggers. So the more you identify and conquer, the less they are going to impact your patience. Okay, the third thing you can do is to journal. I'm sure you saw that one coming. Come on, you know I love journaling. Writing forces us to slow down and process our thoughts fully. And since feeling rushed is often a big trigger for impatience, this can help remove the sense of urgency. And what I really like about this practice is journaling can help you track your progress over time. And learning patience can be a long journey, and you're probably going to get discouraged at times. So having that record of how far you've come can keep you focused and motivated. Now, of course, my book, Grab Life by the Dreams, has several great journal prompts for helping you put this into practice. And you can get a copy for yourself at KarenFreeland.com/dreams. Again, that's KarenFreeland.com/dreams. I go back and read my old journals all the time, and I am always amazed at how far I've come and how much I've grown. Not to mention, so many times the things that felt like a really big deal then, I have actually forgotten about now. Like, it's only upon reading it that I'm reminded of that challenge. And I think that speaks volumes about what we spend a lot of our time and energy being impatient about. Now, one more note. Please don't think that you're going to journal once and have it all figured out. Again, this is a process. It takes time. So please trust the process and keep at it. Keep that regular journal process going. Okay, the fourth thing you can do to improve your patience is to engage in patience-inducing activities. What does that mean? Well, this could be anything from practicing meditation or some other mindfulness practice. It could be a hobby that requires patience, like playing chess, or I'm like fishing is a great example, but I don't know, you might not want to go fishing. But sports like riding horses, where you have to learn to bond with the animal and, you're kind of moving at the speed of trust. I will say having a rescue dog has worked wonders for my patience, and she brings us a ton of joy. But reading is another great patience activator because you have to wait for the story to unfold, even though you want to know the ending. This will also help take your mind off whatever setback or life challenge you're going through and probably connect you to a whole new set of people who can open new doors for you. So it's really a win-win. What do you think would help you practice patience? This is a great thing to journal on. So look at that. It's like a twofer. You get to do your journaling and you get to discover some activities that could be helpful for you to practice patience. Because it's not a one size fits all, right? We're not all going to pick the same activities or the same things to do to improve our patience because we're all different. So you have to pick something that really works for you. And sometimes that's trial and error, right? Trying different things and then really noticing and seeing which one works the best for you. And the fifth thing I want to share today is to practice micro moments of patience. What does that mean? Little things, right? Little tiny moments of patience. So we're not trying to conquer the big stuff right out the gate. We're starting with smaller stuff. And that might be taking a deep breath before you respond to a frustrating situation or email. It might be walking away and giving yourself time to reflect before confronting someone. Asking yourself how the calmest, most empowered version of yourself would react in this situation, and then proceeding to follow your own advice. Another thing is not to respond to every ping and ding on your phone, right? When we're constantly in reactive mode at work, we carry that over into every other aspect of our life. Not everything needs to be handled immediately. Give yourself some space. And as you get better at the little moments of patience, you'll be able to extend that into the bigger life setbacks. And I like this one because it's so easy to implement. I mean, you can literally put this into practice today. And I hope you'll do just that. I hope you will take me up on that. Let's do a quick recap. If you want to improve your patience, you've got to accept what you can't change. You've got to identify your triggers, do some journaling, engage in patience-inducing activities, and practice micro moments of patience. Look, discovering your purpose and figuring out what you want your life to look like is not an overnight process. But patience helps you bridge the gap between what you want and where your current reality is. And that's why it's so important for you to master this virtue. So give it a go and go rock your reinvention. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're inspired to take action by committing to one of the tips or strategies we talked about in today's episode. If you want more accountability and support, I've got your back. Book a complimentary Empowered Exit Strategy call today Visit KarenFreeland.com to learn more and book your 45-minute session. Until next time, stay fabulous.